My name is Evie van Nechel. I'm an educational developer at the Department of Electrical Engineering at the KU Leuven. And I will present the Master of Electrical Engineering to you today. But first, I'll talk a bit more about the history of the KU Leuven. And then I will go more into detail about the Master of Electrical Engineering and more specifically about the different options that you can take. After that, I will explain you a bit more about the admission process at the KU Leuven, what the required documents are, what the minimum scores are for the language proficiency test, and so on. And then I will conclude with just some slides on how life at in Leuven or at the KU Leuven is, and what you can expect when you come to the KU Leuven. So the KU Leuven already exists almost for 600 years. So it was founded in 1425. In 1864, the first lectures started at the Faculty of Engineering, at the Faculty of Science. And then in 1867, the Faculty of Engineering Science started. So we have over 150 years of engineering at the KU Leuven. KU Leuven scores very well on the University World Rankings. So we are 35th in the THE World University Rankings of 2021 by subject engineering and technology. And the KU Leuven overall scores also quite well. It's at the 42nd position in the overall THE ranking. We score, we are at the 38th position in the QS ranking of 2021 by the subject electrical and electronic engineering. And the KU Leuven in general is at the 17th position in the 2021 QS overall ranking. KU Leuven also ranks first on the list of most innovative universities in Europe. This list was drawn up by Thomson Reuters. Now, the KU Leuven consists of 3 different groups, and one of these groups is a science, engineering, and technology group. This group is divided into 5 faculties, one of which is the Faculty of Engineering Science, so that is where the Master of Electrical Engineering belongs to. But we also have the Faculty of Engineering Technology. Now, about the difference between the two of them, there is indeed difference. The Faculty of Engineering Technology is more for industrial engineering, so they focus more on the practical applications. For example, industrial engineers in their jobs, they will use models to solve problems, while at the Faculty of Engineering, the focus is more on scientific and mathematical aspects. And just one second, I'll finish my sentence, but there are more people waiting. Okay. So at the Faculty of Engineering Science, the focus is more on scientific and mathematical aspects. And for example, as I said, in the Faculty of Engineering Technology, their later job will be to use models to solve problems, while with a master from the Faculty of Engineering Science, you will actually build those models. So that's a bit of the difference between those two things. I hope that answers your question. If not, we can discuss it later on after the presentation. So in the Faculty of Engineering Science then consists of 7 departments, and one of these departments is the departments of electrical engineering, where the Master of Electrical Engineering belongs to. And in the Department of Electrical Engineering, we have 7 research groups and an associated division INSYS. These 7 research groups, COSIC, ELECTA, MICUS, MNS, PSI, Stadius, and WaveCore. I will explain a bit more what these research groups do in the next few slides. This Department of Electrical Engineering has over 520 PhD students and other researchers, so it's a quite large department. You can probably see that there is a link sometimes below at the end of the slides. I always also provided a QR code. I hope it's visible because I see that part of the QR code is missing on my screen. I hope that's not the case for you. But the slides will also become visible, and actually the whole presentation will become visible on the website of the online open days of the KU Leuven from tomorrow on normally. So if you want to come back to the slides later to visit these links, you can do that by going to the website tomorrow to see the slides again. So the Science, Engineering and Technology group has over 21,000 students subscriptions this year. So these figures are from end of September. So those are the numbers for this academic year. And well, the total amount of students that is admitted at the KU Leuven this year is over 60,000, and 26% of those, so around 21,000 students, belong to the Science and Engineering Technology group. As I said before, this group consists of 5 faculties, and one of those is the Engineering Science faculty, the one that the Master of Electrical Engineering belongs to. And that faculty makes up for 26% of these number of students in the Science, Engineering and Technology group. So good for a total of 5,522 students. The number of students increases every year, and so does the number of international students. We have a lot of international students. They make up to 17% of the total student population at the KU Leuven. And maybe also some numbers here. So for the Science and Engineering Technology group, it's even a larger number. It's 25% of the students in this group that are international students. And if we take a look at the Faculty of Engineering Science, it's even 38% of the students in this faculty that are international students, which is quite good. So now I will go a bit more into detail about the Master of Electrical Engineering. It's one master, but it consists of 4 options. So when you subscribe for the master, you will need to choose between one of these options. There will be courses that will be given in all the 4 options. So there will be common courses, but there will also be option-specific courses. And next to that, you will also have some elective courses. I'm not going to go too much into detail. You can also find all this information on the website. But I just want to explain you a bit about these different options. So I've ranked them here from more hardware to more software. And the first one on the side of more hardware is the Power Systems and Automation option. Here you will work with high voltages and currents and large signals. And the keywords here are smart grids, power electronics, renewable energy, control and optimization. If these are things that are interesting to you, then probably this is the best option for you. I will go even a bit more into detail in the next few slides. The other option is electronics and chip design. It's already a bit more small signals and a bit more also towards software, but actually still more on the hardware side. And yeah, what you will learn here is analog electronics, digital electronics, RF design, processor chip design for telecommunication systems, and so on. Then the third option is the ICT Security and Networks. Here you will learn more about cryptography, security, mobile networks, telecommunication systems, also Internet of Things, but you can see that Internet of Things is also in the electronics and chip design options. So there will be some topics overlapping in these options. And then the final option, which is on the software side, is the information systems and signal processing option. And here you will learn more about machine learning techniques and algorithms, audio, image and video processing, and also biomedical applications are important here. As you can see, I also listed the main research groups that are closely related to one of these options. And I'll go a bit more into detail about that now. So for the option Power Systems and Automation, the main research group is Electa, and they cover a broad spectrum of electrical energy systems and robust control of industrial systems. They focus on the development of the future smart grid, which is a system where the demand of electricity is adapted to the momentary supply. And in this option, you will learn more about power electronics, smart distribution systems, electrical drives, and so on. I also give you some career examples that you can look up. I will not go into detail about them here because there is not much time, not enough time for this in the presentation. But well, I suggest that you look up these career examples that I'm giving, and also take a look at the websites of the different research groups that are always given below here. And because yeah, it will give you a good idea if you think that's something that's interesting to you for like a career example, or also the research that these research groups are doing, then probably this is the option that is the best for you. Then we have the option Electronics and Chip Design. The main research groups here are MICAS and MNS. They both invest heavily in micro and nanoelectronic research infrastructures to support their research on integrated circuits and sensors. And they cover applications in different fields like telecommunications and connectivity, quality of life, health, mobility, and so on. In this option, you will learn how to design analog and mixed signal integrated circuits, how to compute platforms for artificial intelligence and embedded processing, and how to design, implement, and measure electronic circuits, and much more actually. Some career examples here are analog designer, RF designer, chip and system architect, and stuff like that. So I again advise you to check these different career examples to see if something's interesting to you. Then we have the option ICT Security and Networks. The main research groups here are COSIC and WaveCore. COSIC stands for Computer Security and Industrial Cryptography. They provide broad expertise in digital security and innovative security solutions. And WaveCore focuses more on electromagnetic theory, microwave and millimeter wave circuits, and telecommunication systems in general. In this option, you will learn more about hardware platforms and electronics for security, electromagnetic propagation, mobile networks, cryptography and network security, and so on. I also give you some career examples like this, like for example, security developer or architect, a network architect. You can work as a service provider. These are all just examples. It's not limited to that, of course. And then we have the option Information Systems and Signal Processing. The main research groups here are Stadius and PSI. Stadius is the Center for Dynamical Systems, Signal Processing and Data Analytics. They do research in the fields of linear and multilinear algebra, statistics, optimization, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So all hot topics at the moment. And their main focus is on the development of mathematical engineering tools and numerical algorithms. So maybe again here in the example before that I used to describe the difference between a master from the Faculty of Engineering Science and a master from the Faculty of Engineering Technology. This is where the example came from, actually. So when you have a master in the Faculty of Engineering Science, you will literally work on developing these mathematical tools, while when you have a master in the Engineering Technology, Faculty of Engineering Technology, you will use these tools to solve problems. So that's the difference. Then we have the research group PSI, which stands for Processing, Speech and Images. And they do research in the field of image and audio processing, and therefore they also belong to the domains of computational science and machine learning, because it's actually closely related. And in this option, you will learn more about pattern recognition and image interpretation, audio, speech and image processing, medical imaging and analysis, and multimedia technology and coding. And then also some career examples are, for example, an artificial intelligence architect, an algorithm designer, stuff like that. So please, I advise you to visit the websites and take a look at these career examples in more detail. Now, the previous career examples were all jobs in the industry, but of course, you can also decide to start a PhD after you finish the master. And well, at the Faculty of Engineering Science, as I told you before, we have 7 departments. The Master of Electrical Engineering belongs to the faculty or the Department of Electrical Engineering, but that doesn't mean, of course, that you are restricted to doing a PhD only in this department. You can do a PhD in one of the other departments as well, if you want to broaden your knowledge. But for example, in the Department of Electrical Engineering, we have over 281 PhD students and over 73 professors. These numbers are from a few years back, so probably they have increased even by now, because we also see that these numbers are increasing over the years. In the Faculty of Engineering Science in general, we have 13 ERC grants and 11 ERC grants that will start. We have over 4,000 scientific publications. In the year 2018-2019, we had over 162 PhD degrees that were delivered, so students that finalized their PhD. On average, we also have 3 new spin-off businesses each year, and we have over 150 patents in this faculty. KU Leuven ranks first on the list of the most innovative universities in Europe. They also rank 7th in the world rankings, as the university is the first non-American institution on the list. A few examples of spin-off companies is Materialise. It's a spin-off company of the Faculty of Engineering Science, and they use, they combine actually software developers in the industry with the largest 3D printing facilities in the world. For example, in space applications, weight is a very important constraint. And Materialise was able to make titanium inserts that are 66% lighter because they used metal 3D printing. Then some other spin-off companies are R&D units. Cartagena, for example, which is a spin-off, partly a spin-off of the research group Stadius, and they have developed software for the analysis of genetic data. Tusk IC is a spin-off company that's from the research group MICAS, and they offer extensive research and industry experience in the field of millimeter wave IC design and silicon technologies. Next out is a spin-off both from IMEC and the research group COSIC. They provide end-to-end authentication and use strong public key cryptography to do so. PXI4D is a spin-off from the research group SPI, and they offer a unique photogrammetry software suite for mobile and drone mapping. It's actually quite interesting. I advise you to visit their website once to take a look. And then we have Energyville. This is not a spin-off, it's an R&D unit that is a collaboration between Belgian research partners, one of which is the group Electa. And Energyville actually develops technology to support stakeholders in the transition to an energy efficient, decarbonized and sustainable urban environment. So also a very hot topic at the moment. We also have a lot of research facilities. The Leuven Nanocenter is an example. So we already had a clean room facility for the R&D and small scale production of microsystems and lab on chip devices. But in 2015, a new clean room was opened as part of the Leuven Nanocenter building. This is a building where different departments and research group and faculties actually have their use from. And this clean room or this laboratory merges different engineering and physics disciplines. Their current research projects are microscale energy harvesters for cell phones that capture the energy that is generated by the human body. But it's not limited to that, of course. They also do research on flexible sensors and displays on textiles and so on. Then we have IMEC. IMEC is a world-leading research institution for micro and nanoelectronics and digital solutions. It has global partnerships in ICT, healthcare, and energy. And this is also a building that you can find on the KU Leuven-Arenberg campus. So they're all gathered actually in Leuven on the campus in Leuven. All right, then some more information about the admission process itself. So there are a few documents that are required. One of those documents is your diploma and the transcripts of your academic records. In case you still need to graduate, you can submit intermediate official transcripts. When your diploma and transcripts are not provided in English, you will need to upload a translation in English of these documents. You will also need an English proficiency certificate with a minimum score. I will come back to that in a few slides. You will need a proof of the payment of your application fee, which is 75 euros. You will also need a scan of your identity page of your passport. And in case you are an EEA citizen, a scan of your ID card is sufficient. We also need your motivation letter, and this is a quite important one. So we really take a good look at your motivation letter, and I think it's very useful to spend enough time writing your motivation letter and try to not make it generic, but try to really explain why you want to come to the KU Leuven and why you want to do this Master of Electrical Engineering here. Then we also need your CV. And in case that you have one, in case that you're living in Belgium, we also need your Belgian residence permit. Now, these are the required documents that are general, so for every program. But for the program of electrical engineering, we need some additional documents, or in general, actually, for the Faculty of Engineering Science, we need some additional documents. And this is a PDF scan of your GRE test results. So you will need to do a GRE test. Now, students who have obtained a full bachelor or master's degree in one of the EEA countries, the UK or Switzerland, do not need to provide a GRE test score. Then you will also need to submit 2 recommendation letters. These can be written by an advisor, a supervisor, or a professor. Mainland Chinese citizens who do not hold a non-Chinese degree need to submit an APS certificate when they apply for a Belgian visa, which is quite important to keep in mind when you want to apply. And finally, in case that it's not included in your transcripts, we need a grading table or a document that explains the grading system of your home university. But sometimes it's already included in the transcripts, and then you don't need to send it separately, of course. Now on the language requirements. So we accept 3 different kind of tests. We have the IELTS academic tests. You can also do this test online. That's also accepted at the moment due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Then we also accept the TOEFL internet-based tests. You can, again, also do the home edition at the moment during the pandemic. The third test that we accept is the Cambridge English exam. Of course, you only need to provide one of these tests, and in this slide, you can find a table on the minimum scores that are required to be considered for admission. There is not only a minimum score in general, but also a minimum subscore. And it might be that on the general admission websites, you find minimum scores that are lower. But again, for the Faculty of Engineering Science, we have a higher minimum score for these language requirements test. Applicants with a university degree or a high school degree earned in a country where English is the mother language do not need to provide this language proficiency test. It's sufficient to provide your degree and transcripts in case that they confirm that the entire study was completed in English. But so to repeat this, it's not enough that you finished a university degree that was taught in English. It really needs to be in a country where English is the mother language. Otherwise, you will need to do a language requirement test. The tuition fee is different for EEA students and non-EEA students. So for European students, the registration fee is the general fee from the KU Leuven, which is around €1,000. And for non-EEA students, this tuition fee will depend on the master program, which can be, and the country where you're coming from, and this can be between 1,250 and 6,600 euros. There are 10 fee waivers for excellent students. So this fee when you get a fee waiver, it means that you are exempted from paying the tuition fee. And we have these 10 fee waivers that we can distribute to excellent students within the Department of Electrical Engineering. Every non-European student is automatically considered, and this is based on your academic excellence, your proficiency, language proficiency, and your motivation letter, most of all. Then we also have 30 mastermind scholarships. These are for outstanding students taking a master's degree program in Flanders. So your chances are a bit lower here because there are only 30 and they need to be distributed among students from all the universities in the Flemish part of Belgium. So KU Leuven has nothing to do with this. It's from the government. Well, I cannot go more into detail about that, but I also provide you a link to the website where you can find more about these mastermind scholarships. For these mastermind scholarships, you need to apply yourself, so you are not automatically considered. Then about the dates and deadlines, we have some official dates. So the application intake has opened on the 14th of October, so you can already start with your application file. The deadline for applications of non-EEA citizens is the 1st of March. And the deadline for applications of EEA citizens or European citizens or non-European citizens living in Belgium with a valid permit is the 1st of June. Practically, there will be a three-stage screening. So when we receive your application file, and it needs to be complete. So you can already open an application file, but when not all the documents are there, we will not start looking at it. So when you when you supply your complete file before the end of December, then you will get a decision notification somewhere in February. When we receive your full application between 1st of January and the end of February, you will get a notification in April. And when you submit your application after the 1st of March, which is normally only for this last category, and then you will get notified end of June. Maybe some more information on the decision criteria. We have a screening in 2 steps. So there is a first screening by the Central Admissions Office. They look at your academic background, and ideally you have a bachelor in engineering science or in engineering with electrical engineering as a first or second option. Of course, that doesn't mean that you will not get admitted when you have another diploma. They also take a look at your scores and GPA and at your language requirements. And besides, so that's where they base their screening on, but they also check if your whole application file is complete. So they also check if the other documents are actually there. So after that, all the files end up at our department for a second screening. So even when we get a bad advice from admissions, we still take a look at the files, and we mainly focus on the motivation letter, the recommendation letters, and the GRE results. And one thing that is new from this year, there will also be an online evaluation platform. And the students will need to take some tests on some basic topics like electronics, digital circuits, and stuff like that. And these tests should give you an idea of the content that is expected to be known before entering the Master of Electrical Engineering. The results are not binding, so it's merely to give the students, to give you an idea of the extra workload that you can expect in case that you fail one of these tests. So to give you an example, we noticed that some students, well, in Belgium, we have actually a very broad master program and also a very broad bachelor program. So the background knowledge of the students is also expected to be very broad. But what we noticed is that international students often have a lot of courses on a specific topic, for example, on electronics, but they have less courses on digital circuits, and there can be a gap there. And the idea of these tests is just to sort of remind you beforehand that you might need to do some extra effort to catch up to the right level. And the idea is that we will also give you some remediation courses that you can follow in case that you fail the tests. It's not mandatory, but it's only to give you the chance to already start remediating on some of these topics before you start the master program here. Because what we often see is that international students, when there is a gap in some background knowledge, that they need to catch up together in the first semester together with the courses of the first master, and then it's quite fast they become overloaded. So that's why we want to provide already these remediation topics beforehand. Now, anyone that does not hold a master degree from the KU Leuven needs to go through the admission process. So you're not automatically admitted. Okay, then some final slides on what is it like to study in Leuven. Leuven is a very big city. It's very close to Brussels, which is the capital city of Europe and also the capital city of Belgium. Belgium is very small, as you can see. Here is Europe, and you can see this dot here is Belgium. And well, we have Leuven here and Brussels here, so you can see that's very close to each other. And from Brussels, you can be very quickly in London, Paris, Amsterdam, or Cologne, which are some of the big cities around Belgium. About the living and study expenses in Belgium. So I already explained you the study expenses for European students that will be around 1,000 euros. And for other nationalities, the tuition fees vary depending on the study program, which can be between 1,250 and 6,600 euros. Some accommodation expenses will be somewhere between 360 and 1,000 euros per month. Study materials will be around 400 to 800 euros per year because you will need to buy some books and stuff. And other possible expenses, for example, a bus ticket with 10 rides is 16 euros and a glass of beer is 2 euros, around 2 euros. For the accommodations in Belgium, we have two types. We have the private accommodations and the university dorms. The private accommodations are on a very small scale, so one building can have up to 10 students, and the rooms are well, there's a large variety in the rooms and also variable rates. There are some common areas that are shared, like for example, the kitchen and the bathroom. Usually they are shared area. These are shared areas. Then we have the university dorms. These are on a larger scale. They can, in one building, we can fit up to 100 students because the buildings are quite large. And all the rooms are very similar. And due to that, also the rates are fixed. So you know beforehand what it will cost. They fill up quite quickly, so you'll need to be fast. And also here you will have the kitchen and the bathroom as shared areas. If you're interested in studying at the KU Leuven, but you still have some questions, you can contact one of the student ambassadors. A student ambassador is a student that is currently studying at the KU Leuven and who will answer all of your questions, or in case that they cannot answer, they will send you to the right person who can answer your question. Not every department has a representative student ambassador, so it might be that for the Department of Electrical Engineering, you cannot, or for the Master of Electrical Engineering, you cannot find a student ambassador, but don't worry about that. You can always contact any student ambassador. Probably it's best to also contact one from within the Faculty of Engineering Science, but most of the time your questions will be general enough to also be able to ask your questions to other student ambassadors. Then about the libraries and learning centers, we have the University Library, which is in the center of Leuven, and it's a historical building. We also have the Agora Learning Center and the library at the campus Arenberg. And these are places where you can go to study. And some of them also provide facilities where you can work in groups. We also have a large choice of sports facilities, indoor as well as outdoor. They have a top infrastructure, and sometimes also these sports are organized in group. Of course, with the current rules because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I don't know how these organized sports in groups, how they are organized at the moment. But I think there are still some sports that can be done in group. And for students, these sports facilities come at reduced prices. KU Leuven has a well-developed cycling infrastructure, and this is obtained by filtering car traffic out of the city center. And the motto is commuting by bike is the future. So you will see a lot of students or a lot of people biking in Leuven. There are also a lot of student events. At the beginning of the academic year, there is a student welcome event with small concerts, outdoor movie theater, and food and drink markets. This is usually outside, and even this year, some of these events were allowed because, of course, it was still a few months ago. Currently, the situation is a bit different. So every winter, there is also normally a winter season where there are lots of events in Leuven. For example, a winter garden, a food truck festival, and a fun Christmas market, and also some concerts. But unfortunately, the Christmas market has been cancelled this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the city center of Leuven, we also have the longest bar in Europe. This is not just one bar, but a lot of bars next to each other. And it's a very well-known place to students. So I would like to conclude here, and maybe, well, in the picture in the center of the slide, I can give you 4 more reasons why you should come to Leuven or come to Belgium. And that's the Belgian fries, the Belgian beer, chocolates, and waffles. So we are known for that. So I all want to invite you to study in Leuven. We already look forward to welcoming you. Are there any questions left?